Hello and welcome to the Chicago Sports Podcast. I'm your host, D Nice, and I'm with my man Bishop tonight, and we're going to discuss the Bulls in the play-in. Now, this is the third year in a row. The Bulls in the play-in, and they're facing a familiar foe in the Miami Heat. Unfortunately, the Heat has had our number the last two times. Could the third time be a charm? We will see. How's it going tonight, Bishop?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. How about
All right,
yourself, man?
man. All is well. All is well. I'm excited to talk Bulls. Excited that the Bulls have life after the NBA regular season. It's always a good time. It's not exactly the playoffs, but it's an opportunity to get us one step closer to earning a seed and playing anyone from the Cleveland Cavaliers to the Boston Celtics in the first round of the NBA playoffs this year.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a tall task. Either one of those teams, that's a tall task, man.
absolutely. But, I hope we have the opportunity because, listen, if you say it's a chance, let's dance, baby. Let's see how, what I'm saying? Let's see how well we do. If anything, if
Absolutely.
anything, this could be a measuring stick, for the Bulls in the future because, last week we talked about if guys like Josh Giddey and Kobe White have earned an opportunity to receive max contracts. You know, anytime anything after the regular season comes, play in, playoffs, any postseason play is the time to really see if guys are really max players or are they just regular season guys. Because there's a difference. You want to consider yourself a superstar. Superstars are created in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And if Josh Giddey is our superstar, the last two meetings with the Miami Heat, the Bulls were not able to manage no more than 91 points in both contests. And, both teams have went through transitions this season, dealing with getting rid of star players and lineup changes, you know, different personality issues. Now, the thing with the Heat, they have a locker room issue that a whole lot of people's not speaking about, but has definitely put a chink in the armor of, the mystique of the Miami Heat. I won't go too
Mm.
much into that because it's alleged and I don't want to turn this into, you know, the days of our lives or anything like that when we just want to talk
Yeah,
basketball.
no,
No,
we
I
don't
mean,
want to do that.
okay. So,
No, we don't want to do that. Not at all.
but this, to reiterate what I said about the Heat, this is not the Miami Heat that we're used to. Now, they're very good at defense still. They're a very good defensive team still. They still have guys like Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo, which was a part of their core along with Jimmy Butler. But the difference is they're infusing younger players and lesser known guys, to come off their bench, as far as their depth is concerned. But they do have a guy with championship pedigree, and that's Andrew Wiggins. Okay. For the Bulls, kudos to Billy Donovan. Kudos to the guys up top. Because at the beginning of the year, like we spoke about last week, at the beginning of the year, no one can see us getting here. No one can see us winning 39 games because the
Right.
I think the total may have been anywhere from 25 to 27 on the over and under as far as wins concerning the Bulls.
Okay.
And the thing about it, we was in the impasse. Hey, what we gonna do with guys like Vooch? What we gonna do with guys like Zach LaVine? Because DeMar DeRozan had already left this summer. So we end up getting rid of Zach. And with Billy Donovan having to go through lineup changes, dealing with injuries, and dealing with what we're gonna do with this quote unquote star player that we had, he still managed to get us to the play-in, which was a similar situation. Though we had a different cast of characters, we still end up in the same
Hmm.
spot. And people say, well, why you want to give Billy so much credit? I want Billy. Most people say, well, I would like Billy fired. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people on that train. And I don't, I can't, listen, I can't knock you, but at this point he's here, so we have to give him credit where it's due because he's changed the style of play that the Bulls have been playing. This is a more exciting brand of basketball. It's free flowing. It's a lot of 3-point shooting, which is what the modern what today's NBA game is. And he still tries to infuse the post player in Vucevic. If you watch them, they have a lot of sets where they try to feed that post to start their half court offense.
Okay, so he is still kind of a little old school with regard to the inside out basketball game, but he's also got it to where the ball is flowing, and they're finding the open man and they're getting more quality shots. And I'm assuming as well that the 3-point shot has increased as well. I'm gonna be very honest with you, man. I was on the platform waiting on the train to arrive for me for the Billy Donovan firing also, but I have to take a step back and allow that train to run express right now to see exactly what Billy can pull off because I got to give him his props too, man. I did not think that he could get them to this next level, but I think they're just a few players away from really being actual contenders in the East. I think, I believe that this play-in will determine whether or not the Chicago Bulls can attract a couple players that can help get them to that next level. And because of the style of play that you reference is one of the main reasons or components to them being able to attract those type of players. And at this point, I think they might just accomplish that.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Bishop, because in the past few years, the Bulls have not been a very attractive destination for these upper echelon NBA players to want to come to. But I think with the way the Bulls have ended, the regular season this year, they've created a situation where because of the style of basketball that they're playing, they've created a situation where some of these young superstars are kind of peeking over at Chicago, with some
Yeah,
heavy interest. I think, you know,
I agree with you, D Nice. I think the environment has been created, man, to where it's a lot more inviting than it has been in the
hmm
past. And again, and that's again credit to Billy, you know. And then he's also allowed guys to play more freely within the offense. Mind you, now they're still playing defense, but offensively they are playing a lot more freely, which is what these younger players are more attracted to. So again, kudos to Billy, man. I think, and me personally, and I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think this time around, I think that this third time will be the charm because although the Miami Heat do have Andrew Wiggins is not Jimmy
no,
Butler. Jimmy Butler was the driving force. He wasn't the engine, he was the transmission. He was the torque behind that team to when it became playoff time because playoff Jimmy, as we can see how it's starting to translate over in Golden State, it's the real deal,
very
man.
real
It's a real
thing. It's a
thing.
very real thing. Jimmy was indeed the star student in the class over in Miami. He was. He really was, man, because he embodied the culture. If anybody ever embodied that Heat culture, it was Jimmy. It just fit him. It
Yeah,
just fit him so well because he had went to other places and it just didn't. It just didn't have the same feel. Like when he was with the Bulls, he was a young boy and he was ready to he-
that's where it
yeah,
started. That's where it
yeah,
started.
but he just like he just fit that Miami outfit so well because it didn't look as well in Minnesota and Philly. I mean, he's still a good player, but it just didn't fit him. The surroundings, the environment, it just didn't fit him. But it definitely fit him in Miami. And like you said, he's not
Yeah,
there anymore. So at the end of the day. we're that should be a plus for us, but the Bulls cannot go into this game resting on those laurels. You know what I mean? The fact that Jimmy is not there, they still have Tyler Herro, who was a first time All Star this season, and we all know about Bam Adebayo and his history versus the Bulls. He's done well. He's very versatile. He can play inside and out. He's a very good defender, and he's a very good facilitator of the basketball. So,
Mm-hmm.
without Jimmy, they still have some players there. So we do need to come into this thing with a sense of urgency. But all in all, I do agree with you. I think, we should get up out of this thing, what I'm saying, this time around. The third time will be the charm. And I do think the Bulls will be successful. So, another guy we failed to mention was Kobe White. Kobe White, kudos to him. In the last, this will be his third play-in game versus Miami, and he hasn't really fared too well. So hopefully, he gets on board quick and he starts out quick and can end the game well. Because we need effort from all these guys. They've been giving it, they've been giving 100% effort toward the end of this year, and we need to turn it up a little more in these playoffs. So I think, I'm optimistic and I feel good.
I do as well. I think for them, man, I think what's going to be real key. I think it's going to be a great matchup. It's going to come down to turnovers. They got to make sure that they keep their turnovers down.
Hmm.
They're going to play. They're going to match the defensive intensity of the Miami
Yes,
Heat.
indeed.
I think if they can match the defensive intensity of the Miami Heat, that's what's going to give them their edge. Because um, I don't think Miami is going to be expecting uh, the defensive intensity to be high from the Chicago Bulls, but I believe if they can match that defensive intensity and take it and ratchet it up a little
Hmm.
notch and force them to earn every shot, I think that would be the key to the Chicago Bulls winning this game against the Miami Heat.
And I couldn't have said it better myself. But I guess we'll have to see tomorrow. That's why they play the game. Until then, peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching.